guys, thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us again on this Thursday evening and giving us the time to talk all legal aspects of the Dominican Republic, how to purchase with my go-to realtor always, Johan Confidente.
It's my pleasure being here, and I'm very happy to be able to answer all your questions about safely investing in the Dominican Republic.
I love it. I love it. Let's see here.
I hope you guys have lots of questions. We're here for you guys tonight. I'm more than happy to help you to make the right choice and to make a safe and informed decision.
100%. 100%. Let's see. Got Bill on the line here. I just want to make sure that I'm admitting everybody on here. Give me a moment. John, I know you have a presentation, so you know what? I'm going to start. What do you think? We're 6 minutes in. Are we good to start now, or you want me to give it a couple more minutes, or?
Well, I think we can start talking a little bit. I know more people will join, but at least we can start exchanging some impressions about where people planning or looking to buy. Probably we can hear if Nicholas have plan to invest anytime soon in the Dominican Republic. Where is he thinking to invest or something like that? By the time we wait, we can actually do a little bit of exchanging some ideas between ourselves.
Yeah.
Like you have a presentation too, so we can always dip into the presentation and do the Q&A answers after the fact. You can do you should have the rights to present.
Yep.
But as people are getting in, again, I want to thank you guys so much. Again, it is Thursday. Thank you so much for being here and giving us the time and talking all that is legal in the Dominican Republic. Again, for those entering right now, I have Johan Confidente, who is my go-to lawyer. My friend now, because I've known him for several years. He is not only my friend, but he is also my lawyer that I trust. And this is why I connected with him to basically do this and answer questions. He's a great resource, speaking Spanish and English, and is also Dominican and lives in the Dominican Republic, has offices in Punta Cana, also in Santo Domingo. He basically covers the Dominican Republic for us and it does an amazing job. So thank you again, Johan, for your, for helping me with this, for answering questions. Guys, I ask right now that we will do a Q&A at the end, because I know Johan with his presentation will answer a lot of the questions that you guys have moving forward with this. But just to keep things on track for everyone, Johan.
Yeah, well, thank you very much. And thank you guys all for joining us tonight. As I said, I'm very excited to have you guys all here, and I hope to answer all of your questions about safety investing in the Dominican Republic. I would like to start by talking a little bit about my firm and myself. I am a real estate attorney educated in the Dominican Republic and been in the law practice for the last 15 years, as Jessie mentioned. We are located here in Punta Cana, but we cover the rest of the country, especially the tourist area, meaning Valladolid, Puerto Plata, Santo Domingo, Samaná, all the tourist area. We do cover all the tourist area in the Dominican Republic, even niches that is emerging very, very strong. And we're covering niches as well. So if any of you are planning to invest in niches, we'll be able to help you to secure your investment out there. Now, speaking about the country, investing in the Dominican Republic is extremely, extremely safe when you do it the right way. If you don't do it the right way, then you might regret from doing that. The number one thing that you need a team. You need a team on your side. You need to have a real estate agent to assist you from start to finish that will help you to find your dream property and the best value for your money. And you also need an attorney that will be hand in hand with you from the very beginning of the process until the very end. And that is exactly what we have been doing for our clients. 90% or more of our clients are coming from US or Canada. Means that we have the experience of working with Americans and Canadians, and we have the experience securing your investment here in the Dominican Republic. That means that having your real estate, your broker working together with you and having your attorney, that is the team that you need on your side in order to make sure that you do a safe and a smart investment. The real estate agent will help you to find the dream property, as I mentioned, and I will help you to secure that investment, to make sure that you take no risk at all. And that is my mission. That is my job in the equation, is to protect you from start to finish. And that is what I have been doing for the last 15 years. Now, if you do the process the way you're supposed to do it, meaning that you go through the process, you go through step-by-step process the way it is safe and smart to do, you will never have a problem in the Dominican Republic. Since as your attorney, we will make sure that any property that you might be interested to buy is free and clear, that all the paperwork is in order. We will make sure of that, just to make sure that you have no headaches in the end, right? That is my job in the equation. And the legal frame of the Dominican Republic will definitely offer all the necessary protections that you need, legally speaking, legal-wise, in terms of title transferring, getting all the mechanisms in place for you to get this property transferred to your name. The Dominican Republic offers great benefits, offer great protection for our foreign investors, especially that it is important to know that when you buy a property in the Dominican Republic, it is not a long-term lease. You actually own the property. You get a deed that you can prove that the property is yours. You actually can sell it. You can transfer it. It is your property, and it's limited. It's not like in other jurisdictions that you own the property for X amount of years, whether it's 50 or 100 years. No, here the property comes into your patrimony and it will stay there. You will transfer it over, whether you sell it, whether you will it to your kids, or whichever way you would like to proceed. So it is a true ownership what you have in the Dominican Republic, and it's not a long-term lease. Another good thing to know about the Dominican Republic is that when buying in the Dominican Republic, you don't need to become resident unless you wanted to. Unless you wanted to, we don't force you, and you will still have the same rights and obligations, the same protections as Dominicans, as we have as locals, with no need to become resident, right? I think that's a good benefit that you have here in the Dominican Republic, amongst so many other benefits. If we talk about incentives, in the Dominican Republic, you have so many incentives, so many taxes. If we just to talk about some of them, we can talk about comfort through law. The comfort through law is a tax incentive that only for eligible properties. It doesn't mean that all properties will come with Comfortor. You have to work hand in hand with your real estate agent to show you the properties that has the benefit of the Comfortor law. Now, it doesn't mean that you will only buy properties with Comfortor. I still think that the most important is location or the ROI, whichever your plan might be, right? Now, speaking about the Dominican Republic, if you or the tax incentive, if you would like to invest in the Dominican Republic and take advantage of the tax incentives that we have in place, we will walk you through the process, how to access to all the incentives that we have in the Dominican Republic, whether it's through Comfortor or the tax exoneration. Meaning, and I forgot to mention that Comfortor will not only eliminate the property transfer taxes, but also property taxes for the first 15 years. Usually I'm here with my team to do the presentation. I'm assuming that is not showing. Can you see my presentation? No?
No, I don't see your presentation, John.
No, we don't.
If I can help you out on my end.
Okay.
Sorry, for the property tax you mentioned, it's for how many years?
Well, it's two things what I mentioned. I first mentioned through the same program, which is the Comfortor law, you will be fully exonerated from property transfer taxes. When you buy a property, that is not a Confortour property, you will be subject to 3% transfer tax, and property tax in the Dominican Republic is 1%. 1%. But there are so many other incentives that I will be covering some of them, maybe not all of them, but I will be covering the most important ones. Jessie, you said that you will project it.
Yeah. I received it was a picture, so my apologies, but I do not have your presentation with me.
Okay. Let me see, because I have my team is not here right now. And for some reason, it's not looking for me to present it. If you don't mind, I can continue to cover it. Well, as I was saying, speaking about the Confortour law, will give you as buyer these two main benefits. Those will be the two main benefits: the tax, the full exoneration, the fully waived property transfer taxes, and property taxes. Property taxes will be waived for the first 15 years. The first 15 years. Now, it is important to know that this property, these benefits are only applicable for the first buyer. They're not transferable, right? You cannot transfer the benefit of Confortour. You only get them for yourself for the first buyer getting the property directly from the developer.
May I ask you a question, Johan?
Jessie, would you like us to cover the question now, or we can probably complete the presentation and then answer the questions at the end? How do you prefer, Jessie, to handle?
It's up to you. Being that we don't have the presentation, it's fine. Bill, what is your question?
I'm okay with the question, Sam. Yes, Bill.
Yeah, just quick one, because it's related what just you said, So let's imagine this situation. There is a property which has been purchased by first buyer, which of course utilize this Confortour advantages. Now coming as a second buyer, and you said it's not applying to me, both transfer and property taxes, right? But I experienced one thing when the first owner came to me and said, hey, I get the Confortour certificate. You can still need to pay transfer taxes, but not property taxes. So what is the right?
Well, generally, Confortour will definitely waive both. You will be exonerated from property transfer taxes and property taxes. There are ways sometimes to when putting the property under a company, then you can transfer the shares, in which case the company remains the owner of the property. Now, this is not always beneficial for the buyer. We have to analyze every case in there is a hello? Yeah, can you hear me, Bill?
Yep.
Yeah, then I was saying yes, that we have to analyze every case independently, but the only case scenario where you can be where you can take advantage of the Confortour that another property originally bought the property before and is by putting it under a corporation. But we have to analyze if it's beneficial to put the property under a corporation. We have to go through the math. We have to go through the liabilities of putting the property under a company. We have to analyze those liabilities. But generally speaking, Confortour is not transferable unless you bought the property under a corporation, in which case the property is not being transferred. What we're transferring is the shares. The shares.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure. Speaking about some other benefits that we have in place in the Dominican Republic that not many people talk about, and that in this webinar you will learn, is that the minute you turn 65, you will be eligible to get the property for property tax exoneration, meaning that you can be fully exonerated from property taxes. Some restrictions are applicable. If you have multiple property, this benefit might not apply to you, but if you only have one house or one apartment, regardless of the property, you will be able to benefit from this exoneration. And the reason that we have this type of benefit in place is that we want to make this jurisdiction attractive for retirees to come and live in the Dominican Republic. So among so many other incentives that I can speak, whether tax benefit associated with the residency, if you become resident of the Dominican Republic through some specific categories, you will also be eligible for some tax benefits or tax breaks as well, meaning that bringing container without free of duties, being able to transfer your property again free of tax, and being eligible for property tax exoneration as well. You have plenty of tax incentive when you decide to invest or move to the Dominican Republic. Among the protection and the guarantee that you have when investing in the Dominican Republic from the government, if you did the process correctly, that you have the full protection of the government that will give you title deed certifying that you're the sole owner to your free and clear property, right? So many benefits that you have in the Dominican Republic when it comes to taxes. Now, I also mentioned that the fact that you guys are foreigners, that you're foreign investors, you will not be subject to additional formalities. You will not be subject to additional liabilities or additional obligations. No, and you don't need to become resident. With your status as a tourist, you will be able to invest. You will be able to buy one or multiple properties. People often ask, can I have multiple properties with Comfortour? Will I still be able to benefit from Comfortour? The answer is yes. If you buy multiple Comfortour property, you will be able to have Comfortour and tax exoneration on all of them. Let's say you decided to buy 2-3 condos and all of them are Comfortour properties, you will be property tax exonerated for all of them, and property transfer tax will also be exonerated for all of them. Jessie, would you like to add something?
No, I think that's fantastic, because you clarified something for me right there, because I was not clear with that, because I thought it was only for a certain amount of money. I could be wrong with that. I thought, has that changed?
From Comfortour?
Yes, because I thought there was something where it was a certain dollar amount.
The good thing with Comfortour is that the exoneration is applicable to the property and not to the person, meaning that if the property is already a Comfortour property, it doesn't matter how many units I bought, they will all be property tax exonerated and property transfer tax exonerated too.
My apologies. My door it's windy, and so my door literally opens itself and closes itself. And so I apologize if it's scaring anyone. That's what's happening behind me. No, you covered a lot in that. So let's take this by little steps here. Okay. So one, review, you do not need to be a resident to have the same rights.
Yeah.
So when you're purchasing something down there, you have the same rights as any Dominican born and raised there. You don't have to have like your relatives or anything like that. I can be United States citizen, Canadian. I could be from anywhere in the world, and I have the same rights as any Dominican there. And it's the same process of purchase as a Dominican would have. That is just to get that clear for everyone. Am I correct by saying that?
Yeah,
Okay.
That's exactly right.
So this is the thing, and this is the scary part, right? As what I hear on my end, as from the real estate standpoint, and this is the importance of having the due diligence and having a lawyer in your process, having a reputable real estate agent, whether it be Asset Blue Caribbean Properties or another real estate agent. But understanding that, we get this a lot, like people don't always have title.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
They don't have these things. And it's not necessarily because they don't own the property, but it also has to do with the fact that, like, historically, things have changed in the DR, right? And there's a process of it. So even though they're like, I am the owner, they have to go through certain things to prove that, and to get those things into place. But that is why people, I feel, are like, oh, I'm not going to buy in the DR or whatever, because people don't have title, or people don't have these things in place. And it's right and wrong, right? Like it's true, and it's something that can be fixed, and we could work through that as well. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, in areas like Punta Cana, most properties, I'll say, even most is maybe a little bit vague, but I will say 98% of the property, to say something, are properties with title. Now, maybe when we say title, I'm not saying that if you go to X developer that the title will belong to the developer. It doesn't mean. One thing is that, does the property has title? Yes. Does the title belong to the developer? Well, that's a different question. But in Punta Cana, let's say Punta Cana, and in most of the tourist area, I want to say that most properties are title. So this kind of problem are very, very rare in the tourist area. So if you're thinking about investing, whether it's Punta Cana, whether it's in Cabarete, Valladolid, you have to worry probably about some other things, but not the fact that the property is titled. More than 90% chance the property has title. Now, a different question is, does the title belong to the developer? Another question is the title free and clear? That's another question. And the due diligence is actually oriented to learn if there is any problem, to disclose if there is any problem associated to the ownership, or probably to the boundaries of the property, if there is any existing problem or potential problem that might impact in the future. That is why the due diligence is addressed for.
And the other question I get a lot, and I know you get this question a lot too, is taxes, right? I'm an American or I'm Canadian or from another country. How does it work when I purchase something there? And now you're telling me I don't have to pay property taxes 15 years, but now I'm doing an Airbnb there. How does that work, and how am I claiming taxes? Right? That becomes a big question of, like, how does that work?
Well, I will answer it. I will tell you what people are doing, and I will tell you what people have to do, right? I will tell you both things. In the Dominican Republic, our system, we're not like going after people to force you pay taxes, especially when properties are under your personal name. The government does not have the right mechanism in place to know if the property was rented or not. Now, you as a property holder, as a property owner, you have the obligation to declare your income, to pay your taxes, but the government is not necessarily going to go after you for that. Now, most people think that when they buy a Confiture property, there will be the exoneration will be applicable to the rental income. The answer is no. Is the Confiture properties, the benefits are only applicable to the title transfer taxes and to the property taxes, but the rental income will be subject to all the tax obligations of the Dominican Republic, meaning that the owner will have to declare, will have the obligation to declare. Most developers, depending on the system that they're working with, their property managers and such, most developers choose not necessarily to declare, depending how they handle this with their property manager, depending what kind of structure they have in place. But I will definitely prefer to have that discussion privately with each one of the owner, depending on the plan that they might have in mind. Now, it's important to know that there is no dual taxation between the Dominican Republic or and the U.S. or Dominican Republic and Canada. There is no dual taxation. It means that once you have paid your taxes here, you probably have to declare in your country, but you won't have to pay again unless the taxes are higher over there.
I love that. I love that 100%. And then also, the question I get often too is, do you recommend people creating an escrow account when they are in the process of buying a property?
Well, I think the escrow account is a blast, because that's the best way to pay the reservation deposit, knowing that if there is a problem, you're not going to have any kind of headache getting your money back from the seller, because the money is sitting in escrow with the real estate company, with the lawyer. So you know that if there is a problem, you will get your money back with zero headache. So escrow is definitely my preferred way to pay reservation deposit.
Perfect. I mean, we covered the residency, we covered the taxes, we covered the escrow aspect of things. What do people expect at the closing? Like, what is the process? Like, I've now purchased something, whether it be pre-construction. Actually, let me take a step back before I even get into that. Because there is a different process between pre-construction and something that's already ready.
Yeah.
Right? Process purchasing. So why don't we take most people right now, because of everything, there's so much growth right now in the Dominican Republic happening. A lot of people do the pre-construction. And I know that you've helped me out with a lot of a lot of those, like a lot of those contracts with people.
Yeah.
What do you say, or what do you recommend when people are looking at a pre-construction, what they should have in their contract to safeguard themselves?
Well, more importantly, I think that the main thing is due diligence. It's always due diligence, especially in pre-construction. Sometimes people have the misconception that on buying pre-construction, they take for granted that title will come later, that ownership belongs to the developer, and it's not always like that. So don't take anything for granted when buying pre-construction. Make sure that you cover a good level of due diligence, especially in regards to ownership, because is the big thing here. Ownership is a big thing here. Clear title is a big thing. Is the main protection that every buyer should be looking for. Buy a property that has a free and clear title. Now, when it comes to the contract, and free and clear title is not all of it. Now, you also does the developer has all their paperwork in order? Is the contract being signed by the right person? Is the contract that I'm getting is binding? Do I have enough windows to withdraw from the contract in the event that the developer is not in compliance with the due diligence, or is not in compliance with the agreement in general? So one thing important is due diligence, and second, in my opinion, will be windows. Have a strong terms and conditions that will protect you in the event that the developer is not fulfilling his obligation. Now, buying pre-construction is very sensitive, and this is why you need to go with the professionals. You need to go with the right real estate company that will only present you vetted project, not just go see any project. No, that doesn't work like that. You have to do your own homework as a buyer. You have to make sure that you work with the professionals. You have to do your part and let the professionals to do their job, meaning the lawyer to do his due diligence, to negotiate a contract for you, to make sure that the contract has, as I said, all the necessary windows that you need to pull off the contract in the event that the developer is not in compliance.
I love that you said that. And it is, we see this quite a bit when we have these contracts, and you've done really well with the safeguard of the delays, right? And putting those kind of things in place, really holding up to the developer to say, if you guys don't deliver within 6 months of your delivery date, then XYZ will happen. Because let's face it, one, we're on an island in the Dominican Republic. Things happen, and you have a developer that's saying, I'm going to deliver at this date. And I know that there's that safeguard of saying, yeah, this date, but there's that kind of like within 6 months of that is kind of what we tell people. But anything past that, I mean, then that's where you kind of come in. And that's what's the important part of having a lawyer from the beginning in this process, guys, because the thing is that, oftentimes people go right to the developer and don't have a lawyer. And then all of a sudden the developer is, a year behind schedule, a year and a half for whatever reason. And it's not always the developer's fault. I mean, my understanding too is that there's a lot of red tape sometimes that happens with getting the process of getting a comfortor that might hold up construction, or getting, certain titles in place that might hold up your construction. It doesn't mean that they will not deliver. At the end of the day, they will deliver what they're doing. And when we work with great developers, because of that point, we know that they will deliver. But these are things to understand in that process of pre-construction, but also having a lawyer that says to you, okay, I know what could happen. I live here. I see this. However, let's put this in our contract that you're going to get paid, because you're missing out on money, after 6 months of this promise that it's going to be delivered at that time. And so I've seen you do those kind of things in your contracts, which I think is fantastic.
Plus, we know the history of most developers in the area, so we know what kind of things we have to pay attention to. I think going directly to the developer is a huge mistake, because you have zero protection. Now you're working directly with the developer. Number one, you don't know if this is the right property for your money. You don't really know that. The lawyer of the developer is always going to present you the nice picture, but they're not representing you. They're not working for you. They're defending the interests of the developers, but not yours. So you definitely have to make sure that you have your team on your side. You have to have your real estate agent. You have to have your attorney that is defending your best interests.
And then, that we talked about, that's the pre-construction angle of it. What do you see when it comes to something that's already ready? What should people be looking for and be aware of when purchasing something that's ready, that you would help them with that contract?
Well, due diligence is king in all this process. Due diligence is king, especially when looking at buying a villa. We need to make sure that the boundaries are correct. We need to make sure that there is no problem that might pop up in the future. Any potential debt with the government or taxes. If it's an apartment, then we have to make sure that we get the right title for this unit, that the titles are not exchanged or misplaced. So you have to make sure that you're getting the right title for the unit. You have to make sure that all duties are paid, and you have to, again, that will be covered by the due diligence, ownership, clear title, that will be covered in the due diligence process, and making sure that the attorney will double check that the account where the money is going to be sent is actually the account that belongs to the seller. Make sure that the contract is written according to the Dominican laws. You don't want to pay for a property and then now learn that your contract was not correctly done. The seller maybe is out of the country already, and now you have a problem. I have seen that. I've seen people that they didn't go with an attorney. Now they have a contract that they cannot enforce, that they cannot get a title with this contract. So it's always good to make sure that you buy yourself this peace of mind by hiring an attorney, an experienced attorney that will not only do the process with you, but give you that extra safety, that extra protection, that extra peace of mind, that you know that you're doing things right, that you know that in the future you're not going to have any problem at all. That's very important. And some of the most common problems that we see is when it comes to time to pay. How do I pay? When do I pay? Will sellers sign the contract after I pay, or do I have to pay before? And what's my protection if I pay the seller before? So this is why we have to negotiate that. We need to organize that, and that is the job of the attorney to do together with the real estate agent. We work as a team together, making sure that buyers are protected.
So what do you say, I often have this asked that, I have a lawyer that I've been working with, in the States or in Canada that I trust, and I've been working with him for a long time. And can I go with my lawyer from my country or that I know? Now, I do know the answer to that, but I would like you to kind of explain what your thoughts are on that.
That can always be like an extra insurance that buyers might want to have, but less and less. Most buyers, they just go with an attorney here in the Dominican Republic because a U.S. lawyer, maybe he has a general understanding of law. Without the maybe, for sure, the lawyer will have a general understanding of buying a property. But now, how to execute the title transfer? What are the details that they have to look at to make sure that the property is in good standing, to make sure that the contract is done according to the law, making sure that the property, I mean, the file is going to be filed according to the law in order to end up getting a title transfer. So you definitely need to hire a Dominican lawyer, an experienced Dominican real estate lawyer that will help you to conduct the transaction, that will help you to achieve the final goal of getting the title in your name. And having the U.S. attorney, that can always give you the extra peace of mind. But this lawyer is not going to be in condition to perform a due diligence according to the Dominican laws, for sure not. And he's not going to be able to understand the contract, to understand the contract, yes, but not to include all the stipulations that we need to make sure that they are established on the contract in order for us to transfer the property, or to make sure that the contract is binding, to make sure that you're protected, to make sure that you have all the necessary windows in the event of a problem.
And another question I often get is capital gains, right? What point do I have to pay capital gains? How can I avoid paying? Because obviously we have a lot of people that are purchasing for the sake of investment there. And how would you navigate that with a client?
That's a good question, and you and I are connected. Today, I just recorded a video about capital gains that will go to my YouTube channel. When should I start thinking about capital gains? Is this when I'm going to sell the property, or when buying the property? Well, I think we should start thinking about capital gains since the moment that we're buying the property. Why? Because you need to play your cards correctly. You need to navigate this process correctly, because keep in mind that capital gains in the Dominican Republic is 25% for individuals and 27% for entities. So it's an important bite, and you do have to keep that in mind. So when to think about that? When buying the property. How to navigate capital gains? Every case is different. There is no a specific solution that will be applicable to everybody, but I recommend that we start planning around capital gains since day one, since we intend to buy the property.
So there's a way to avoid it, is what you're telling me.
Well, I didn't say that, but there is always a way that we can navigate the process and mitigate it. The law also has a mechanism for you to mitigate, to lower the impact. So we have legal mechanism to lower the impact, whether it's depreciation, among other things in the law that we can actually leverage in your favor. And we have to work on the right strategy so we can leverage capital gains in your favor.
All right. I like that. And so that's the point, right? Like, you need to, when you're purchasing something, you really need to understand, like, what is this purchase for? What do I want for this? What do I think of selling this?
Exactly.
And that's how you kind of go into it and understand, like, okay, and the questions that we need to ask, right? Right now, I was just in Florida a couple weeks ago, working with brokers there and understanding, understanding their market, understanding, what the clientele is. And historically, a lot of people have, from the States and even Canada, have moved to Florida as retirees, right? The warm weather and whatnot. But more and more people are moving to the Dominican Republic for the same things. And, and then they're asking those questions of, like, okay, how do I get my Social Security here? Can I live here without being a resident, right? And I think, we touched on the fact that yes, you don't need to be a resident there. However, if you are going to be staying there for retirement purposes, a long period of time, it is probably in your benefit to become a resident in the area. Would you agree or not?
Yeah, well, and it would be nice to know that we have fast track for retirees. We have fast track for business owners. We have fast track for investors. So it's a matter of exploring the right category that that fits you better. But we have plenty of categories to apply for Dominican residency. You don't have to in order to invest in the Dominican Republic. You're not forced to, but if you wanted to, you have multiple options to apply. And no, it's important to know that if you don't see yourself actually residing in the Dominican Republic, but you see yourself coming a few times in the year, spending 2-3 months in a row, then you don't have to really worry about obtaining Dominican residency, because every time you step into the Dominican Republic, you're allowed to legally stay here for 3 months in a row without no need to apply for residency. And that's another good thing that people need to know. And I think the fast track is also good to know that you have fast track. If you collect a pension, if you collect $1,500 on a pension, you will be eligible for a fast track residency. If you are a business owner who makes dividend for over $2,000 per month, you will be eligible for a fast track residency as well. If you invest $200,000 in the Dominican Republic, a specific way of investment, it has to be allocated towards a business, the $200,000, you will also be eligible for a fast track residency.
Perfect. And you help with people also becoming residents. I mean, obviously you're a lawyer, your specialty is real estate, but you also do help clients with getting their residency and working through that as well.
Yeah, real estate is my main specialty. However, my team here, we do cover immigration as well, corporation, because generally speaking, these are the typical need that a foreign investor will need to cover. And we try to be one-stop shop, whether we can help them with their taxes, obtaining the residency, creating a corporation, and for sure, buying properties or investing in the Dominican Republic at any scale.
And also, okay, so clarify something. We're talking about retirees, because Comfortour, and just to be clear for everybody listening, Comfortour is not something that is across all of the Dominican Republic. So can we kind of break that down and explain what Comfortour really is, where you would expect to see Comfortour, and kind of how the detail of how that works a little bit? Because I think a lot of people just assume that anything they buy in DR is going to have this Comfortour law.
Yeah, well, it's important. That clarification is very, very important. And I would like to put it in a very simple way. Comfortour is actually a tax incentive program established by law in the Dominican Republic, meaning that it is a law. Now, it's not in place for every single development. It's not in place for every single property on the market in the Dominican Republic. A project has to actually comply with some criteria in order to be eligible for Comfortour, and it's only on the developer to apply, and it's on the government to approve, right? So some projects are approved by Comfortour and some others are not. So my advice for you, if you would like to know if a project is a Comfortour project or not, you should ask your real estate agent to show you the Comfortour property, and your attorney will confirm whether the property is eligible for Comfortour or not. The agent most likely is going to show you all the projects that they have in the listing that are Comfortour property. And as your attorney, I'm going to do the verification and give you the confirmation if the property is a Comfortour property or not. But thank you, Jessie, for clarifying that Comfortour is not applicable to every single project in the area. And I said the area, but Comfortour, it's only for tourist project, like tourist project offered to tourist accommodation. And this is why you see nowadays a lot more condo hotels that are being built and with hotel facilities. This is in order to guarantee that they will obtain the benefit of Comfortor, which is a huge benefit for our investors that are willing to or thinking to buy a property in the Dominican Republic.
Yes, and correct me if I'm wrong in what I understand, so that I'm not saying anything incorrect to even my clients. Is my understanding of Comfortor is developer has applied for Comfortor and gets that Comfortor.
Yeah.
Okay. Is granted that. Now the developer starts constructing whatnot, takes maybe 5 years for that project to then deliver. Even though it has Comfortor, I am the first buyer, but to my understanding, the Comfortor does not restart because I've purchased it. The Comfortor is 15 years from the time it was approved to whatnot. So when I am purchasing it, even though it says Comfortor, you need to be clear and understand how many years do I actually have with that Comfortor that is left. Is that correct?
You explained it very correct. Yes, the fact that you bought a property, the property might have been sitting on the market for a while. Maybe you don't have the full 15 years. Maybe you only have 12. Maybe you only have 13 years. That will be like buying from the developer. You will always expect to have at least 10 years.
Okay. And then my other understanding of that is,
Generally speaking.
And the other understanding is, a lot of people get confused because they say, well, I was the first buyer, right? A lot of people ask me, this is the thing, when you are buying a property and you are the first time buyer, you have the decision of creating an LLC and buying it as a business and keeping your Comfortor status, or buying it as just your, as your personal, your name, whatnot, not going through that thing. Now, the differences between that, to my understanding, is if you buy it as a corporation, you can then pass that down. And when you sell it, you still keep that Comfortor. Now, keep in mind, depending on how many years you've had it, and that's where you have to understand, like, is it beneficial for me to do an LLC, which also has other tax things to this, to give that benefit to the next person that's going to purchase it, that is going to have the Comfortor. And keep in mind, again, how many years of Comfortor do I have? How many years am I going to keep this for? It really is that of benefit for the next buyer, right? Or do I'm purchasing it as my own, which then when you go to sell that, the Comfortor now has become lost, right? It does not go to the next buyer because you are the first time purchaser of that. And often people ask me, like, how should I buy this, right? Should I do it under an LLC and keep this benefit, or should I buy it for myself? How do you navigate that? What do you recommend to people?
I'll give you a simple method that will be applicable, generally speaking, for most buyers. Most buyers are looking for savings. This is what most buyers are looking for. If you're looking for savings to save on taxes, then even if the property is Comfortor, the first thing that you need to analyze is, what is my liability if I bought this property under a corporation? What is my tax liability associated with the company? Not the property, because the property is tax-free. Now, when you buy a property, let's say you bought a property that is worth $160,000, for example, and you wanted to keep the Comfortor. You say, okay, I'm going to buy the property under a company. It is not worth it because you're going to have to pay company maintenance fee. And now you bought a property that has zero liability. If you bought it as an individual, now you put the same property under a corporation and you went from zero liability as an individual to all the fees associated with maintaining this company up and running. That, generally speaking, will look like $2,000 per year or more, right? So you go from zero to $2,000 per year. Now, most buyers, when buying properties under corporation, unless they are trying to cover estate planning or they wanted to buy the property under a structure in the US, most buyers, when putting the property under a corporation, they're looking to offer their potential buyer an incentive, meaning, hey, there's no title transfer. I mean, there's no transfer taxes to pay, and the property still has 12, 13, 10 years left on Confitor, which is a huge benefit. But sometimes what sellers or buyers ignore is that you also have to consider the expenses associated with keeping the company up and running. Generally speaking, properties under $250,000 or even $300,000, I don't recommend to put them under a corporation if you're looking for savings. If your priority is estate planning or asset protection, then my recommendation might be different.
And what do you say for people who are like, well, you know, I buy this property here, and what happens if I pass away? Right? Like how, you know, that's a big thing, right?
We're gonna cry for sure. That's the first thing. That's the first thing, yes. Well, it's important to know that in the Dominican Republic, there's no need for wills. If you want your property to go to your heirs, meaning the kids, which is the legal heirs in the Dominican Republic, which are the legal heirs in the Dominican Republic, there's no need for will. The property, after exhausting a process that is pretty similar to probate, you will have to connect with your attorney, go through the process, and the kids will end up getting the property in their name. So the government will never keep your property, even if you didn't have a will, because again, if you have kids, kids will always be the first legal heirs.
I like that. And then, you know, again, a lot of people that have signed up for this today, a lot of them are looking at this as, you know, retiree, second home type of thing. Can you explain a little bit? Because there are tax benefits for the client that is over the age of 65, similar to what we have for Confitor, but it seems like there might be a process to doing that.
Yeah. Well, the process is, as I mentioned in the beginning, is that once you turn 65, you will be eligible for a property tax exoneration on the property that you reside. Some conditions are applicable, right? Some conditions apply. And the reason or the conditions are that if the investor has more than one property, then he might not receive the benefit. When having only one property and is a property that you reside on, they can prove that you have the utility invoices, that you have the properties already under your name, then we can help you out obtaining the property tax exoneration. And what is a good thing on that is that the price of the property don't really matter. It don't matter. So you can have a $1 million property, have some of my retired clients owning $1-2 million property, and they're taking advantage of this benefit. So it's a great incentive.
Perfect. You know, it is now getting on 8 o'clock. I love that we can keep going on with this. I want to open this a little bit up to Q&A with people that are on here to give an opportunity for them to ask some questions. So if anyone is on, and we did cover a lot, but if you guys have any questions right now, John, this is free legal advice, guys. Now is the time to ask the
time. And just let them know, all the questions are free now, but if they want to have me, then they will have to pay a consultation. So take advantage of that gift from Jessie today.
100%. So is anyone online that has a question that maybe we did not cover? No,
Either we answer everything or they're shy.
Well, that's possible. I mean, I love that I think we covered quite a bit.
Cover a lot, yes.
But you did just touch on fees. So what is when people are looking for a lawyer, what would you say when you recommend when people are, obviously I recommend you, however, if they're looking in other places in the Dominican Republic that maybe you don't serve, what do you recommend people should be asking of their lawyer in order to choose a good lawyer?
Mostly the standard here in Punta Cana is that for properties under $200,000, people will be looking at somewhere between $2,500 to $3,000 mostly, and above $200,000, then we go to 1.5% from the purchase price. That is basically standard here in Punta Cana.
And then what do you recommend people asking? Like, I mean, I would think that people would want to somewhat interview maybe a lawyer, interview a couple of lawyers. I always give, at least 3 options to my clients, because again, it's about, you making this choice, right? Like I recommend these lawyers or these banks, but ultimately they have to connect. What are things that you think people should be asking when doing an interview with a lawyer?
Well, I think more than anything is to make sure that the lawyer that you're going to work with is a lawyer that is established in the area where you're going to buy. A lawyer that is used to work in that area, that has already presence in that area. You don't want to hire a lawyer that is based in Santo Domingo, that has never worked in Punta Cana, and have him as your attorney. He doesn't have a clue how things work. He doesn't know anybody, and he's going to be he's going to be a problem for the transaction. The transaction is not going to move. You might lose the opportunity of buying your dream property. So hiring an attorney that is based in the area where you're buying is always key. And making sure that is an attorney with experience. You don't want to hire a new graduated attorney. You don't want to do that. You want to do your own homework. You want to make sure that your lawyer is able to work on a strategy, 360 strategy, to cover what's going to happen if I die. What is my tax implications? Should I buy under a company? Should I have my kids on titles? Should I don't? What will be the implications? Is there any better way for me to leverage taxes, or is there any window that we need to put on contract? So those are the most important things that buyers should be looking at when buying a property.
I did have a question here from Lindsay. Lindsay, I believe, is from Florida. She's a broker there, asking me if I'm an agent in the Dominican Republic or if I'm in the United States. And I guess I was so talking about Johan Confidente, I did not introduce myself. I know it's at the end of our meeting here. For those that don't know, I am Jessie Grijalba. I am with Blue Caribbean Properties. I currently am living in Playa del Carmen, Mexico. I am from Holland, Michigan, and I sell the Dominican Republic and I sell the Riviera Maya in Mexico. I'm actually going to be in Punta Cana here in the next few weeks because I have clients that I'm going to be attending there. So I do go back and forth. So I consider myself an international broker and connecting people with our agency. For people that are also not aware, us at Blue Caribbean Properties, us at Blue Caribbean Properties, we have an office located in Punta Cana in the Dominican Republic and also in Santo Domingo. And then we have an office here in Playa del Carmen, Mexico, which is where I currently am, but I go to all of these spots. So I sell a little bit of everything. But yes, I'm from the US, I'm from Michigan, living my best life here, kind of sweating right now here in Mexico.
That's a good problem to have right now, right?
No. It's so crazy because the thing is that like being from Michigan, the scary part is living here now. I moved here to Playa del Carmen in August, and you forget the days, you forget what month it is, you forget, like, that's the scary part about living here in Mexico and the Dominican, whatever, because it's always summer, right? We have moments that it's a little cooler than others or whatnot. But yeah, I mean, today I was like, oh my gosh, we're already in March. Like, what is going on? So, but that was a great question. Thank you so much for asking. And she says, I'm jealous. Well, you're always welcome to come down to the Dominican Republic or Mexico. I'd be always happy to host and tell people where they can come to. Is there any other questions, guys? I know I want to thank you guys so much for giving us the time. Oh, thank you. Giving us the time, Thursday night. And I know you're going into, it's the weekday, going into the weekend. But I am here. Johan Confidente is here. I'm going to be doing a follow-up email with our contact information. If you guys have any questions, sometimes when we're online, it's a little uncomfortable to ask these things, but we are here to answer your questions, to be a resource for you in your purchasing process here in Dominican Republic or the, Riviera Maya as well. But I know we did open it up and I didn't get any questions, but if anyone has any last questions they can think of, I will ask and feel free to message right now or ask it. But other than that, I think we are going to wrap this up. Thank you so much. Great info. Ethan, thank you so much for that. Ethan, Jen. I'm just reading some comments here. Thank you guys so much. And like I said, I will follow this up. I'm going to see if I can download this. I had the video, whatever. So I'm gonna send an email with information. I'm also going to include a Dominican buyer's guide for you guys to review as well. And again, any questions that you guys have, I would love to be a resource for you, as well as Johan, to help you guys with any of your purchasing needs. So with that, Johan, thank you again so much. You're always so kind to me and always so willing to do these things with me. We will definitely do more of these in the future. I hope to see you when I'm in the Dominican Republic coming up soon.
Thank you. I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed this webinar, and I hope that it was helpful for everybody present tonight.